And if you can't see this, I'll show you real quick. 100% empty. That is awesome. And they are definitely up here. Hey, welcome back everybody. Welcome to January and welcome to 2026. All right, for anybody that's new to the channel, my name is Jeff Crane. Been keeping bees here in Jacksonville, North Carolina since spring of 2017. And it is January 1st. So it is about 3:40 in the afternoon. The temps this morning were right above freezing, but here we go again with some pretty moderate winters, or at least that's what most folks up north would probably consider this, because it is currently 61 degrees and 40% humidity, and it has felt pretty darn nice all day. And in fact, the bees have actually been flying a little more than I thought they would. So again, for any newcomers to the channel, here's a quick look at my bee yard from, as you can see, walking out to it from the house. Like I enjoy doing each time, let's walk around, look at the entrances. As you can see, and the time that I told you, it's a little later in the afternoon, right about 3:45, 4 o'clock this time of year, the sun starts to dip below the tree line, which generally speaking starts affecting the temps back here and the hive activity. As I say that, as we walk down, hopefully you can see some of the activity, but this side of the yard, when I say that, meaning about this half of the yard down here, is just more active than the first half we just walked by. As I say that, really, that hive right there has been going gangbusters any opportunity it gets, which is just amazing to see. All right, hey, that's really it for me. Just a very quick introduction to January's video. Who knows what this month has in store for us? And for me, historically speaking, the weather here in my location is semi-mild up until about January. And then old man winter really starts to set in. It is not uncommon for us to have snow between January and March, more so towards March, like right on the cusp of spring. And we've had some hard freezes last year, but we'll see. The weather has been very favorable and the bees have been taking advantage of it. Time will tell. Hopefully the next 90 days kind of comes and goes, meaning it'll be spring before we know it. I'll be out here really getting into the bees then, but between now and then, you know, not really much to do. I'm just going to keep an eye on their feed. If you didn't catch last month's videos, I've been checking the fondant patties that I have on top of the inner cover between a shim and the telescoping top cover. I've been checking them as often as I can, because the last thing I want to experience, and I've experienced this before, is to have a hive die this time of year, especially if I have food for them. Hey, I'll just say it up front. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Please continue to watch the rest of the month, which at this point, I have no idea what that's going to look like. If you enjoy the content, if you're interested in beekeeping, or if you just want to show a small veteran-owned beekeeping operation some love and support, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button. All right, folks, so here it is, Friday, January 2nd, right at noon. Temperature is 60 degrees, humidity is 52%. I did not plan on doing anything with the bees today, or honestly, really this weekend, but that's kind of how beekeeping goes. Sometimes the bees, most of the time, the bees determine your schedule. I was out here just a few minutes ago. I just went back to the shed to grab the GoPro and the equipment. And it's kind of like playing the game of one of these things doesn't look like the other. Meaning, most of the hives have very nice front entrance activity, given the temps, which is to be expected. No direct sunlight on any of the colonies right now because it's rather overcast. And as we move down here, the one with the wood on top as a marker, we'll come back to it in a second. There's a bee, there's one bee coming and going, so that's okay. But yeah, check out the rest of the activity on the colonies. Very, very nice. So let's go back to this one real quick. As you can see, with the hives within visibility to the right of the colony directly in front of me, in front of us right now, not the same activity. And in fact, as I'm out here, of course, this is the most activity I've seen since paying close attention to this one. So I'm just going to keep an eye on it. I'll set a 2-hour timer, come out around 2 p.m., see how they're looking. And if it's looking kind of like it's looking right now, I'll put my suit on, pop the top, crack the boxes, and just make a quick assessment of the colony size, the cluster size, and whether or not they're able to reach the fondant patty. All right, here it is a few hours later. It's 2:45, 61 degrees, 52%, and the 10-day forecast. I'll explain here in a second why I'm talking about that, but it looks like we're out of the cold front, and the coldest temp, the low for the next 10 days, is going to be Monday at 33. It might get below freezing at the house. The weather here is usually a few degrees colder than the weather app. But like I said, a few hours later, let's walk down to the hive with the piece of wood on top, because I want to show y'all something. All right, pretty much the same view from earlier today. As you can see, there's more activity than there was. However, earlier I did pop the top and there wasn't too many bees on the fondant patty. And in fact, they haven't really used as much as others, which doesn't really matter. And it's not really a big deal, because if they have adequate food stores, they're going to use that first before they use any of the fondant patty. I'm just going to let them roll for the week, considering the temps, and make it a point to come out next weekend, which according to the 10-day forecast, it looks like we have some rain in our forecast for Friday and Saturday, which are also going to be the warmest days. But I'll just work around the weather, of course, like usual. Yeah, Friday's high. Actually, Wednesday through Saturday, 68, 68, 71 on Friday. Also 40% chance of rain. Saturday high of 67 with a 60% chance. So a little rain in the forecast. I'm just going to let them roll for the time being. Make it a point to come out next weekend and just see if they look any better, any different. Maybe separate the boxes, get a good look at the cluster. But as y'all can see, I mean, for the temps being in the low 60s, the bees definitely don't seem to mind. Looks like they're enjoying this weather. All right, hey, welcome back everybody. So it's been a few days. Today is Tuesday, January 6th, right after 4 o'clock. Current temps are, well, 69.4, let's just say 70 degrees. Humidity is 68%, and today's high occurred just about 30 minutes ago. Let me look at this thing, at 3:30, I believe. Yep, 3:28. 73.4 degrees. And I am coming out here for the sole reason to get eyes on that one hive that I shared previously that didn't have as much activity on the entrance as the rest. Let's go look at all the hives, but I'm real curious to see how that one's looking. Holy smokes. Look at this down the line. This is fantastic. Great activity. This is exactly what I was expecting to see. Given the time of day, being late afternoon, however you want to look at it, I can only imagine what it looked like in the early afternoon hours, around like 1 or 2 o'clock, when it was definitely about to hit the high temp of the day. So this is, let's see, yeah, something's going on here. The hive there with the wood on top, it does have some activity, but I mean, look at the neighboring hives in comparison, right? Let's do another shot of this hive for maybe 10 seconds or so. And you can see the hives to the left and the right that are within frame. More so the one on the left for sure. There's a decent amount of bees at the entrance hanging out. But yeah, this one, they seem to be limping along, which is fine. I'll take that all day, every day, as long as they make it to spring. And I don't know if this is going to come up on camera or not, but I'm just going to take a slow panning shot of the sky, because it is just amazing to watch all the bees come and go. All right, one last panning look of all the hives as I center on the one that I'm kind of, I was gonna say kind of concerned, but yeah, I'm definitely concerned for them. All right, folks, that's really all I wanted to do today. Just a quick look, given the warm temperatures for very early January. I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on that one hive. The numbers are on the back, otherwise I would share the hive number. But we do have a few warmer days remaining in the week, unless the weather completely changes. There's a few wet days, so I'll keep that in mind. But if I can get out here, Saturday for just a few minutes, just to pop the top on this one right here, that's what I plan on doing. Good Lord. I think this is one that I made a comment in a previous clip. If the activity on this hive in the center of the screen is any indication of their overall health and strength, I hope they make it to spring, because that one, as a double deep, I will split them in a heartbeat. In fact, most of the double deeps, which is only one, let's see, the very last one, that's not true. Double deep with a medium, but one, two, I have quite a few double deeps. And if you've been watching the channel for any length of time, you'll know that I do not overwinter, or haven't overwintered in years. And if you're new to the channel, I haven't overwintered colonies and double deeps. I just went to a single brood box management style for quite a few years now, and I'll overwinter typically, as you see here, with a medium box, no queen excluder of course, and then come springtime I'll add the queen excluder once I inspect them and isolate the queen down to the bottom box. But with the amount of double deeps that I have, and some with mediums, they are great candidates to split in early spring. All they have to do is make it to the spring, and I am doing everything in my power this year to ensure that happens. All right, thanks for watching, everybody. Just a quick look, early January, given the warm temps. Stay tuned. All right, welcome back, everybody. So here it is, Friday, January 9th, right at 4 o'clock. The temperature is 73 degrees. The humidity is 72%. Today's high occurred right around 12:30 at 77 degrees. And yes, before you ask, I swear it's wintertime. Let's walk around to the front of the hives like usual, take a quick look at entrance activity, talk about a few things. All right, that is what I like to see. That is beautiful activity. I am very curious about the one I have marked with a piece of wood down there as we get to it. So far, so good. To include that one. All right, so that's a nice surprise. And that's the one I'm referring to, but let's look at the rest of them real quick. We'll talk about a few things. And all right, this is fantastic to see. Very nice activity on all the hives. And as I was heading home from work, thinking about getting out here to check the hives like I just did, it kind of dawned on me. So here it is, January. I made a feeding calendar that I'm very satisfied with. In fact, here, I'll just share a screenshot. Hopefully you can see this and everything. But I made a feeding calendar to keep me on track this year. And as I say all that, again, dawned on me with it being January, between January and February, I need to start introducing, well, more so January, I need to start introducing some pollen patties. So looking at the weather app on the phone, tomorrow's forecast, the high is going to be, I think it's at about 71, but like I've shared before, here at my location, it usually runs a few degrees higher. So I'm assuming tomorrow's weather should get into the mid 70s just like today. So if that's the case, tomorrow's clip or the next clip, will be me checking all the fondant patties like I have before, and I'll provide any fondant to hives that need it. And in fact, as I keep talking about this, tonight I'll order some pollen patties from Hive Alive. They have two versions. If you're new to the channel, this is the first year I've used their product. A lot of reviews, they're not new to the market. They've been around for a while. And as I shared in December's video, I reached out to a few beekeepers with much larger operations, asked them about their experience and their feedback, and they said, yeah, absolutely. My bees come out of the winter extremely strong, and they attribute that to the Hive Alive product. So if it works for them with the fondant, and I have had nice success so far, meaning the bees are eating it and hey, they're still alive. So since the fondant's been going pretty well, I'm just gonna order some pollen patties, like I said, and get them on the hives here soon enough. So hey, stay tuned. I'll get out here tomorrow as long as the weather doesn't change. If it's favorable, I'll get into the hives, show you a few clips of that. And yeah, again, practically mid-January, not too far off, and days in the 70s with really not a lot of cold front coming our way. As I say that, let's look at the weather app. Let's look at the 10-day forecast. I mean, there are some lows coming up. So today's high 75, that's actually pretty accurate. Tomorrow 72, 50% chance of rain, so we'll figure out what that looks like. And then a few days, 49, 58, 59, 52 here. I'll just take a screenshot and show you. There's still some overnight lows in the low 30s and then in the high 20s, give or take. So there is that. We're not completely out of winter, obviously. We'll have some cold nights, some sub-freezing temps, but if it warms up like this, I mean, what more can you ask for? Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Here it is, Saturday, January 10th, right after 2 o'clock, 75 degrees and 76% humidity. Today's high was 77 degrees, which occurred just about 30 minutes ago. So I'm gonna get out into the yard. I'll show you the entrances, of course, like usual, pop the tops, check the fondant patty statuses, replace any if need be, and hopefully the bees are still doing this because I was out there maybe an hour and a half ago and they were bringing in a lot of very bright pollen. They had a lot of pollen stuck to their legs. So if I still see that and I can show that to you, I will. So let's get out into the yard. Let's get started, maximize our time because there are some dark clouds coming this way. So I don't want to be out there if we have any unexpected rain because there's actually none in the forecast. But as y'all know, sometimes the weather apps aren't the most accurate. All right, let's get out into the yard, pop some tops, check the bees, and call it a day. I know I said this just the other day in the previous clip, but so far, this winter's weather, and more so the weather in January now, has been pretty unreal. Definitely not complaining, but at the same time, as fun as it is to see this much activity this time of year, like I've said a few times, it is or can be not necessarily a good thing because the bees can burn through their food supplies real quick. All right, let's do a standard walk by, mainly because I want to turn off the electric fence. But yeah, check out the activity on these hives. This is crazy. To include the hive that I have marked with a piece of wood right here. That's the one that I've really been paying attention to, but their activity right now looks great, and I just saw some bees bringing in pollen. The hives down here continue to just do really well, or at least the entrances stay busy, especially this one here, the double deep. All right, let's maximize our time. I just turned the fence off. Let me get things set up, get the smoker lit just as a precautionary measure. And yeah, let's check the fondant patties to see how they're doing. And like I said, I'll replace any if need be. I looked at my calendar and I wasn't sure if I was supposed to start feeding pollen patties this month or next month. Turns out it is next month, and it says lightly, and then through March and everything, feed them some more. So I'll order some here soon enough from Hive Alive. Give their pollen patties a try, the 15% version. See if the bees like it, which I'm sure they will. And then just get them even more prepped for spring. All right, down here at number 12, figured start with a first-hand perspective. Since last month, December, I used the tripod a lot. All right, hey, surprisingly, they have a nice amount of fondant left, if you can't see that or not. Yeah, check this out. That is exactly what I want to see. They are working the fondant nicely. That should get them through, hopefully through the rest of January. All right, quick look at 24. They're making even better use of the fondant. So I'll check on them probably about 2 weeks. In fact, I'll probably just check on all the hives in about 2 weeks. But it does take them quite a while to consume this fondant, which first time using it, I wasn't too sure how fast they were going to go through it, but one 1 kilogram patty seems to work and last quite a few months actually. All right, moving right along down here at number 11. And yeah, they are working diligently on the patty. Number 19. Okay, looking good too. We got a little bit of we got a frog up here. Not a big, not a big deal. Enjoy your winter stay, Mr. Frog. Yeah, this shouldn't take too long. Just like last month, I got through all the hives, maybe, I don't know, less than 30 minutes probably. Which one is this? 20? 20's looking good. 14. Oh, that is actually interesting to show y'all. Not that I want to grab the camera and drag it over here, but 14 is definitely getting very, very close to the edge. I'll make a note of that one. So 14 is practically, well, they're almost finished. They might be the first to finish, at least out of the hives that I've looked at so far. All right, 6. 6 is kind of just putting along. 17, okay. Decent amount of bees coming in through the back entrance. That was 17. 13. Yeah, they're making nice use of theirs. So I've said it a few times, but this is the first year I've used Hive Alive, and I am honestly surprised that the bees are not using it as fast as I thought they would. All right, number 5 for sure. I want to show you that. So I'm gonna grab some sticks here so I can show you a few things. So definitely not that one. What was it? 14, I think I said. Yeah, 14. I'll mark that one. 5. That's worth showing you here in a few minutes once I get through the rest. 15's doing a nice job too. If I can get all this stuff put back. 3 was the one that I was concerned about. Yeah, I mean, they got bees up here, but man, they're not really into the fondant patty for whatever reason. They're making nice use, which is number 7. Number 25. Yeah, they're making nice use too. 18. Yeah, okay. I thought I was going to have to reorder fondant, meaning I went through the 31 kilogram packages. I thought I was gonna have to replace them at least once, but now the bees are doing good. They're using it, so if they didn't need it, they wouldn't use it. All right, so interestingly, number 22, number 5, and number 14, I'm gonna grab the GoPro off the tripod and show you a first-hand perspective of how much fondant they've used. All right, as promised, got a few hives to look at. So number 14, I just wanted to show y'all how much fondant some of the hives have used. So that's a good candidate for probably another week or so. So I'll keep an eye on that. I'll make a note in Hive Tracks. So that was 14. Here's number 5.
I mean, look at that. They pick the fondant patty, I mean, practically clean. I might grab this one, another one, and then figure out how to possibly add 2 patties to 1 colony. My idea is just get the openings of the patties as close as possible to the inner cover hole. All right, 22. Yeah, same thing with this one. Let me grab 3 patties. And honestly, you know what? I was gonna grab 3, but then I don't have those little feeder tools. Not that that's necessary. People have been using these patties without that tool for forever. But considering they're not super close to running out, I will make it a point to check on them midweek, which is something I haven't done recently. I've just been sticking to weekend checks. But yeah, those 3, I'll leave the sticks on top as a reminder, but I'll make a note in Hive Tracks at the top for those, or go back and adjust the note or comment or whatever. That's interesting. Check that out. Wonder if that's from the last time I treated them, so I'll push that back in a little bit. But yeah, I'll just make a note at the top of each of those hives journal entries, just to keep an eye on the fondant patty and check it throughout the week or in the next few days. All right, folks, hey, that's all pretty quick. If you've been watching the channel, I've been doing this, well, at least last month, maybe the month before, so November and December. But yeah, 75 degrees, January 10th. It is truly remarkable to see the colonies like just really enjoying the weather. Just got to keep an eye on them, which is why I'm out here checking the fondant patties. The last thing I want to experience is a colony starving and dying off right before spring, like right before everything really starts to start blooming. But yeah, hey, that's it for me. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. I'll try to keep the month interesting. Not really sure what that means or what that looks like at this point, but we shall see as the days pass. All right, let's get started, folks. So it's about 2:40. Took me a little bit to change over and get out here, but got the smoker, yep, still going. All right, so kind of same thing as the previous clip, or maybe something from last month. I will move through the colonies on my own, describing what I'm looking at, and then I'll come back through and give a few first person perspectives. So 12 looking good. They have a decent amount left. Let's see, what is this? 24. Yeah, 24. They are approaching the left side of the bag, but they still have a nice amount left. Number 11. 11 might actually just go through one, if that, one patty this entire season. Number 19. The left side, they've hit the edge of the bag in the middle, but the front and back, they still have some fondant, and then the back, front, and right side, they're still good to go. See, number 20. Yeah, they're looking good. They actually have a decent amount left still. All right, we're down here at, let's see, 14. 14, this is the first hive I marked with a stick because, oh yeah, they have the corners left, which isn't much. So of any so far, they are the best candidate for a patty refresh. Number 6, yeah, they're looking okay. They got enough left. 17. Actually, so this is kind of concerning. First thing to be concerned about. The 17 have, they're not really showing too much entrance activity. And what I'm looking at here is dead bees in the fondant. So let's crack this one apart. Oh man, not good, not good. Actually looks like, yep, looks like I lost one. Yep. Damn, 17. I'll show you this as we're wrapping up. A lot of dead bees on the bottom board. Well, actually not even a lot, so I'll, yeah, damn. All right, 17 died. I'll get into them. How can I do this? I'll invert the outer cover as a marker. 13, they're working away. And let's see, 5 is the other one. Oh, we have our first candidate. 100% empty. Y'all, I'll go through my notes. I'm curious to see what I said about 17 last. 15, yeah, okay, they're still working away. This is the other one I was concerned with. 3, no bees. Oh boy, no bees on the fondant. They have some coming and going at the entrance. I wonder if I need to reduce them to a... All right, I'm gonna invert this lid just as a reminder. I need to look at them as I'm wrapping things up. I didn't see any bees between the boxes. They have some bees coming and going, but this could also be bees from other colonies. 7, they're working away. 25, this seems to be a pretty strong one based off the entrance. They're looking okay. 18, yep, working away. Same thing with number 9. What is this, 22? I marked them with a stick. Yep, sure enough. So that's two patties I need to replace. Number 10. They still have enough patty left not to be concerned with. And number 8, they're working away. So, okay, so 2 patties to replace and 2 hives to investigate. All right, so here's an idea. Since number 3 seems to have not survived, I'm going to simply take their fondant patty, which has a decent amount left. And if you can't see this, I'll show you real quick. 100% empty. That is awesome. And they are definitely up here, if you can't tell. So I'll just simply add this. I am sure they will get right to work. Boom, done. And that is number 5. Number 5, I have replenished the fondant patty. So now let's go down to, I don't remember the number, but it's down at the end of the hive stand. All right, so I think 17 was the one that was the other dead out. So same thing. I just took their fondant patty off, and as you can see, this is number 22. I mean, gone, 100% gone, which is really what I want to see. And I was hoping they would consume a little more quickly. So put that over the hole. It's not a full patty. The inner circles may be, I don't know, 5-6 inches. The other hives consumed, but it does have the surrounding edges. It has a good amount. And based off most hives, this one too, based off how much they've been consuming, that'll be good for another few weeks. All right, I'm gonna get down into these 2 hives and kind of figure out what happened. All right, this is 17, and that is exactly what you don't want to see. So we do have some freezing temps coming up. I'm not terribly concerned with wax moths, especially this time of year, or getting the boxes stacked with the rest of the boxes in storage with pear moth and everything. I'm just going to stand them up like I usually do, let Mother Nature do its thing, freeze them, and then actually, in fact, this entire next week's going to be pretty chilly. So I'll get, oh, come on, I'll get to them when I get to them, you know. Really no sense in rushing or anything, but yep, sure enough, even with food and the cold temps, it looks like they starved. Obviously no food up here at all, and you can see some bees with their heads buried in the cells, which is a sign that they were, well, that they needed food, honestly. So I was really hoping to go through winter with 100%, but I also know that is a extremely non-realistic goal. Like loss is inevitable no matter what you do. So let me tear through them just a little more while I'm out here and see if I don't know, just see if anything can be determined really. A silver lining, you know, in an effort to try and stay positive, a silver lining is I have quite a few frames of wax. So I'm just going to go through this bottom box. The queen will most likely be on the bottom board because there's not a lot of bees at all on the frames. So I'll show you that as I'm wrapping everything up. All right, I just spent some time looking through the bottom board here. I don't know if that's really going to come up or not, but it's hard to see. Well, it's hard to find the queen sometimes when you have a dead out, just because all the debris and whatnot falls to the bottom, but I'm not seeing her. That doesn't mean anything. She could be on one of the frames that I just didn't look at or breezed over, but yeah, very, very unfortunate. It's just one of those things that, you know, you know it might happen. You really hope it doesn't, of course, but you know, it's all part of keeping bees. All right, I'm just going to clean this off. Like I said, set the boxes up like I usually do, and get into the next hive, the next dead out, show you anything worthwhile, and that'll be it for today. All right, down here at number 3, I already forgot, but I'm pretty sure this is one that had the piece of wood on it, the one that I had been concerned about. All right, this looks more like a true dead out, meaning I'm looking at frame 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, between frame 6 and 7. If you can see that, it looks like they're clustered up, and that's pretty much right where the hole is to the inner cover, right on the food. But yeah, sure enough. All right, I'm going to do something slightly different with this one because it looks like all the bees are in the top box there. I'm going to put, well, you saw the outer cover down to act as a catch, because I have a feeling once I separate those two frames, all the bees that are clustered between them are probably going to fall down. So just in an effort to save myself a little bit of a headache. But yeah, just like a headache with finding the queen. I do that sometimes. I don't really finish my thought. But yeah, just like the other one. A lot of nice frames that can easily be recycled come springtime. Yeah, I have no doubt they ran out of food and starved, even though they had the patty. Yeah, exactly. A whole bunch just fell. Even though they had the patty right there. So that is textbook dead out when a colony just runs out of food. Very unfortunate. If you can't tell by my voice, I feel bad. And hard to say. I'm always curious to see if I can find the queen. All right, let's just gently, semi-gently, move them around. Pretty confident all my queens were marked. No guarantees, but I'm pretty sure they were all marked going into the winter. There looks like some brood. Oh yeah, that's another thing compared to some other local beekeepers to me. They had some brood in theirs, which I have no doubt some do. As I see some cap brood and everything. Just curious to see if I could. Damn, she was laying too. Yep, sure enough. Yep, I see eggs. Oh man, that is very, very unfortunate. Not to add insult to injury with what I'm looking at, but yeah, that's very, very unfortunate. Maybe I can find her better that way. Very unfortunate. No doubt they were building up for spring. All right, just one final look. I mean, I saw eggs, so obviously I know they still had a queen, but I mean, who knows? Who knows if I can actually find her? Dead bees look a little different than live bees, and she may have been the first to go. Probably not, but who knows? I don't see her, that's for sure. And like I said, they were all marked at some point, especially towards the end of the season, so yeah, okay. All right, well, let me clean this one up. Oh, in fact, actually I haven't really gotten into the bottom box at all, so she might be down in there. Let's take a look. All right, just went through the bottom box. A few bees kind of fell to the bottom board, so let's take a look at that next. Again, nothing that I'm doing right now truly matters. It's me more curious than anything to see if I can find the queen, which it's highly likely that they were still queen right. They may have, as I look at this and say that, they may have been robbed out at some point, because there's a lot of real fine wax. And then as I say that, check this out. There's like a developing pupa down here on the bottom board. So who knows? There's really no way to tell most of the time, at least with my experience. All right, well, that's that for number 3. All right, folks, so it's about 3:15 now. I was out here for maybe the better part of an hour. The inevitable finally happened. Number 3 and number 17, as y'all saw, just didn't make it. If I had to guess, and based off some observation, as y'all also saw, looks like they just ran out of food despite having a fondant patty. I get it though, that is an emergency food source. They just didn't have a lot of food left, or any really, in the boxes, the top box or even the bottom. To get through the winter with 0 losses, I'm sure there's probably some beekeepers that have figured out some secret recipe to doing so. I obviously am not one. So was it 19 down to 17 mid-January? We're not anywhere even close to being out of the woods, pun not intended, or maybe. But yeah, it's about 60 more days until mid-March, right? Mid-March usually gets cold for us, but March is when we typically start doing a few things, meaning more feeding and possibly splits. So if I can get these 17 through the next 60 days, 70 days is, I haven't done the math, so if it doesn't check out, don't worry. But about 70 days is around April 1st, I believe, right? 70, 75 days. And that is typically when I add queen excluders. So the weather's warm enough, of course. But yeah, if I can get through the next 60 days with the remaining hives, I have no doubt come springtime, April 1st, when I start adding queen excluders, that I will be able to make a few splits and fill all of the spaces out here. Comfortably, I think about 20. So 17 to 20 is not like, you know, huge leaps and bounds. 25 is packed to where I need a little more space. And that is another plan that I may have mentioned earlier during this month's video, or maybe last month. So July is going to be kind of busy. I know that's like several months, between now and then, but stay tuned for sure. That should be very interesting and fascinating to see, because, well, I'll just let you know now, spoiler alert, right? Most likely, shortly after the July 4th Independence Day holiday, I am not going to have any bees in this yard. So stay tuned for that. All right, hey, enough of me yapping. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm just kind of bummed. It sucks to lose any hives, and I know 2's not devastating, but like I said a few times, we have quite a ways to go, 60 days. So I'm just going to do everything I can to keep them alive. I was going to treat this afternoon because I treat this time of year. I've probably said this a few times, but I treat this time of year, meaning the winter months, once a month, right in the middle of the month is what I try to do, depending on the weather. But with it cooling off already a little bit, and this next week's weather being a little too cold to treat, I'm not necessarily worried about it. I'm sure they're fine. I'm gonna treat them heavy come springtime anyway, before I start adding supers and everything. So if I miss a month in the middle of the winter, having treated for several months throughout the winter, I'm not necessarily concerned with it. All right, again, thanks for watching. Stay tuned. Cole's Farm here in Jacksonville, North Carolina. I will share as much as I can for the remaining part of January if I'm able to. No promises, so just keep watching this video and we'll see what happens throughout the rest of the month. All right, hey, welcome back, everybody. So here it is, Thursday, January 22nd, right at 4 p.m. The temperature is 66 degrees. The humidity is 56%. But we have had some pretty cold evenings and overnight temps, of course. In fact, yesterday at 8 a.m., it was 19 degrees. And if you've been watching the channel for any length of time or have been watching this series of videos, I am out here in the yard to take a look at the entrances, because given today's temps, we should see some nice flight activity, which I have already had the privilege of seeing. So let's take a look. I'll share that with you, of course. Hopefully I see activity on all the hives, because that is a good indication they're doing okay, unlike the 2 that I lost about a week ago. So let's check it out. All right, I'm just gonna walk down the line. Decent activity is what I'm looking for. So far, so good. But yeah, the temps. It's been cold, to say the least. All right, looks like the bees are making use of some of the dead outs. And as we walk down here, so far so good. All right, so I'm satisfied with what I see. Decent activity on all the hives, some more than others, but that's to be expected. Looks like the bees are making use with the dead out colonies, which everything has a silver lining, right? I am happy that we had the temps that we had recently, especially with some of these dead outs, because nature has a way to take care of things sometimes, meaning the sub-freezing temps did me a solid, killed anything that may have caused problems in the future with some of the dead outs. So now that the temps are warm enough, I need to make it a point to not take my time, but I do need to get this equipment that you see right there over there, and it's probably a good time to refresh some of the paramoth, because the last thing I want to experience, and probably the same thing with most people that keep bees, is opening a stack of boxes that you put away or aside for storage that had beautiful drawn comb. You open it up for the first time in probably months, and you find out that some wax moths got in there and wreaked havoc, meaning totally destroyed and making most, if not all, the wax unusable, which would absolutely suck, especially going into spring, because I know I have plans for all those boxes as soon as the warm temps are here.
All right, that's honestly it for me. I know I got through the hives sometime in the last 7 to 14 days, checked the food stores, refreshed a few. I'm comfortable with how they are currently. We do have some weather coming through, so if you bear with me for like a few moments, I will share that. And I think it's Sunday night. Sunday night is when things might get a little rough. The weather app finally decided to cooperate. So let's see. Today, 67 the high. That's actually pretty accurate. The low tonight, probably at daybreak, is going to be about 42. No big deal. Saturday and Sunday, well, geez. Anyway, let me back up. Saturday through Saturday. So the next 7 days, the high will be on Sunday, and that's 55, 54 on Monday. And then it's in the high 30s, low 40s. Let's see, what's the worst day? Thursday, a high of 29 and a low of 20. Yeah. And what I was saying earlier about Sunday, 95% chance of something, whether, well, with the temps, probably not rain, so either sleet or snow. And that's pretty much the standard time for us here in eastern North Carolina to get snow, is usually sometime in January and then as late as March, give or take. But one last look at the hives. That's it for today. Again, it's nice to see them flying. I am satisfied with the activity that I see on or at the entrances. I did not look, but it's probably about 60 to 65 days. Oh, in fact, as I say that, maybe 58 days actually. I think spring is March 20th or 21st, and today's the 22nd. So 58 to 60 days, give or take, it'll be March. And if you know anything about beekeeping, and if you don't, I guess, this is like the last 10 yards, the last 2 months. This is a crucial, not the most crucial, but this is a very crucial and critical time to take advantage of any warm days like today or any other days between now and spring, and just check your colonies, mainly to see if they have adequate food stores, because it is not uncommon, and I know I shared this earlier in this video or last month's video, but it is not uncommon for colonies to run out of food and starve on like the break of spring. If you ask me how I know this, well, I'll just answer it. I've experienced this before, and it is one of the worst feelings with beekeeping. You have a healthy colony, does well for you throughout the season, produces a nice honey crop. You do all the things to keep them alive and keep them healthy, treating them and feeding them. Winter rolls in, you're pretty much hands off for quite a while. You know, you're checking them, they're doing good, and then one day you come out within a few weeks of spring, no activity on a warm day. You crack apart the boxes just like I did for these other two, and it is just a pile of dead bees on the bottom board. And it absolutely sucks to lose a colony, especially one that could have probably produced right away as soon as the seasons changed. All right, just one additional thought that I wanted to share. The timeline didn't seem right when I said somewhere in between the last 7 and 14 days. I think that's what I said, referencing when I checked their food stores. As I was walking back to the house from the yard here, I just got into Hive tracks, because, you know, I figured if I'm gonna try to make better notes or keep better notes of all the things I do with the hives, I checked the food stores on the 17th, so that was just 5 days ago. So I'm not saying there's not a chance they burned through all that food within the last 5 days, but it is highly unlikely. And as you can tell, I'm contemplating some thoughts here, and that the only thought really is whether or not I should just throw on the suit, come out here, pop the tops, check the food stores, because tomorrow's temps are not going to be favorable to do that at all. So I also have this thing that I kind of live by, or try to, and that is if I think about something more than once, I should probably act on it. So yeah, tomorrow's high is going to be 52, and then like I said, earlier, it just gets cold for the next week. So if a hive is low on food or if they've ran out, they're not in a good spot. So as I say all that, I'm gonna throw in my suit and get into them real quick. I might share a few clips, I might not. So whatever comes next, comes next. But that's what I'm gonna do next here in a few minutes, just because, again, the next full week of weather, if they're in a bad spot now, they're not gonna be in a better spot in a week. So yeah, let's go do that real quick. All right, folks, that's right. It is 4:15 and I'm out here to do a few things that y'all seen before. Different viewpoint, because I haven't shared this view much. The camera's been on a tripod more often than it hasn't, just because, well, that's new for me with the tripod, with the mic. But this is hive number 12, first position. That to me is plenty of food for the next week, considering I added these patties I think sometime in November, so they've had them for a while. Surprisingly, they have not really burned through them as fast as I thought they would. All right, same thing with this one. That's good for now. All right, yeah, I'm just gonna move the camera around as I go. I'm not gonna show you the first-hand perspective for all of the colonies, but since I can easily grab the camera now and show that, I will. But I'll just show you anything that looks unusual, or if I'm right next to the camera, I'll show you what I'm looking at. So number 20, again, that's enough to get through the week. This is nice to see, though. It is nice to see that the colonies don't necessarily consume the fondant as fast as I thought they would. That's just me sharing my thoughts, because I thought they were gonna burn through it. For the next week, that is pretty low, so I'm gonna leave the stick in place. I brought a few patties out with me. I'm gonna leave the stick on top of this colony to serve as a marker, an indicator. And that's the same thing I did from about 5 days ago. If you can see that or not, they're just fine. So at least one. And what I have not done yet, as far as replacing fondant patties and everything, what I have not done yet is add a new patty as the current patty is being used up, meaning it's not completely gone. So I will figure that out here in a second and share that with everybody. Right, a little bit of a different angle. Oh, now that's a candidate for sure. Yeah, if they've hit the edge on most and they're wrapping it up on the one, yeah, let me mark this one. Oh, there we go. Just happen to have a top or bottom bar. Yeah, that one for sure. So at least two. That one's doing okay if you can see it. So I'm glad I brought three patties with me, because there's another colony down here that has a stick as an indicator, which is this one here, number 22. Surprisingly, they're doing okay. They actually have, I'm not sure why I had the stick on there, unless that was one of the colonies I resupplied last week. That one's doing okay. And the very last one here, number 8. Yeah, they're doing okay. All right, so it looks like 2. All right, this is number 14. I'm not too concerned with having the lid off for too long, because the bag pretty much blocks the entrance, alluding to any potential robbing issues. So if you didn't catch the previous video, Hive Alive makes these tools that are extremely easy to use as far as opening a bag. Not that that's like anything to lose sleep over, but that is cool. They built that into it. But here's how they work. If you didn't see the previous clip, you just insert it and it continues. I'll give you a close up here.
it continues to allow the bees full access to the bag, because as you can see, the legs on this little plastic tool thing keep the bag propped up. All right, no promises if they're gonna get agitated, but here we go. So my thought process is this. Not that it's a guarantee to work or anything, but I was going to arrange it to where the bees could access both bags via the hole. But as I do this, I don't think that's going to work. And here I am causing probably more problems than I need to with disturbing them. And I really don't want to put both patties on top of the top bars with the temps that we have coming up. Man, this tool works great until you have to do something like this, and then it is kind of semi-awkward. All right, I'm gonna figure this out off camera. Stay tuned, I'll be right back. All right, so in the few minutes that the camera has been off, I've basically determined there is no real good way to add 2 patties at once above the inner cover with the entrance hole, right? So I'm just gonna set this one aside, let all the bees fly out, hopefully in the next few minutes or so, and then basically tear the bag open and put it on top the top bars so they have full access to the little bit left. If anybody has a better idea, feel free to leave that in a comment, because right now, if you can't tell, I do not. All right, let's go take care of the other one, and that'll be it for today. All right, down here at number 7, what you did not see just now is once I ripped the bag apart, the bees went everywhere. So that's probably what I'm gonna do with this one as well, since there's no real good way, like I was just describing, how to add 2 patties to 1 colony. So I'll show you exactly what happened off camera just then. So let's get this one added. It is nice to see the bees using it. I mean, that's exactly why I provided the fondant, so they would use it. That was a little off-camera fun. I ended up stepping away for a few reasons. The first reason, I knocked the microphone loose and the magnet fell all the way down my leg. And then the second reason, which I wasn't really sure if I was experiencing it or not, because sometimes you can't tell how close a bee is, but on the other hand, sometimes you can definitely tell when things sound a little unusually close. And somehow, I'm thinking through one of the leg openings, a bee got into my suit. And if you're new to the channel, again, a full suit is rather new to me, basically the last few months or so. So for years, I've been wearing a jacket, and as the waist has, the elastic is slowly loosened up, bees started getting into the jacket through, well, around the waist. So I figured a full suit can't go wrong, totally protected, 100% protected, right? Now, not that you can see my bottom half, but yeah, no kidding. A bee ended up getting into the suit. I think it's because I didn't zip the legs all the way down, which they are now. So let's go finish up with number 7. I added the patty. I'm just gonna rip open the patty that I removed to show you what I was describing earlier from number 14, which in fact, there's a decent amount of bees still in that patty that I just saw. So I have to add them to the hive. Well, the patty and the bees to the hive. But let's finish up with number 7 first. So this is pretty much what I was trying to explain. Yeah, you rip the bag open and voila, you got bees, right? Naturally, they're well, they're not exactly happy about that. So I'm gonna give them a few minutes to settle down and find their way home and possibly get off the remaining fondant that's in this bag, which is like really not much at all. It seemed like it was more than it was, but it's definitely not. It's just, if you can see that or not, it's just that little corner. But nonetheless, it's for them to use. So I'll just I'll shake them out, leave the fondant like that, and call it a day. heavy lift Marines, because they come in low and slow, and that damn thing is loud. Again, down here at 14, let's tear this completely open, get the bees out of there. Yeah, they have a little more, not much, but a little more. So figure out whatever the best way forward is for them to use the remaining bit that they have. All right, not to bore you to death, I'll do this off camera, but that's pretty much it for today. All right, no real promises how this is going to go, but all I am going to try and do is add the fondant directly on top of the top bars here. That is directly below the inner cover, without causing too much chaos. So I'm going to do this close enough to where the bees are clustering. There you go, bees. Enjoy. Say I never gave you anything, didn't give you anything. All right, that's that, because I really don't want to cause too much of a disturbance. Just check that, it's directly over the hole. All right, calling it a day. All right, there you go, folks. It's 4:35. It honestly did not take long at all to do this, and I didn't expect it to, but it does feel good to know 2 colonies that needed some food received some food, because again, I've said it probably 3 times now, the weather over the next week is not very favorable to any colonies if they happen to be running low on food. So I'll make some notes in Hive tracks that I checked all the colonies. That's kind of a normal or a routine note. Checked all the colonies for fondant. They have adequate supplies for the next week. And then I'll make it a point to make another note for 7. I think 7 and 14. I'll have to go confirm. That doesn't sound right. But anyway, I'll just update those here in a little bit. That is it. Hopefully the next time you see me, it's in about a week, next weekend at some point, once the weather warms up a little bit, or if the weather drastically changes. Which honestly, that's just wishful thinking, because I think we're about to get blasted with some very, very cold weather, and I can only hope the bees are good to go, 2 are better than they were. I just hope the rest can hang in there, and on the next warm day, if it's still in January, I'll share that. All right, hey, welcome back, everybody. So here it is, Wednesday, January 28th, right at 1 o'clock. It is finally warmed up. The temperature is 41 degrees and the humidity is 41%, but that has not been the case for the last week. And in fact, the last video that I shot was about 10 days ago. So let's talk about the weather real quick and go out into the yard, show you a few things, talk about what I plan on doing today in preparation for the season. So temperature, highs and lows, check this out. January 22nd, the high was 70 degrees, and that was right before 3 p.m. And the low within the last week was on January 27th at 7 a.m., and that was 15 degrees. So unlike most of the country, well, actually, like most of the country, we're experiencing a cold snap, but unlike parts of the country, we obviously do not have any snow, or at least just yet. I was looking at the weather apps and the forecast last night, and surprisingly, there was snow in our forecast for next weekend. But as y'all know, those forecasts change pretty frequently, so not holding my breath on that. But anyway, this is practically the high for today. Let's walk around, look at the entrances. I'm not expecting to see anything, but this is as warm as it's going to get. It's going to start cooling off in no time. I was out here the other day. I didn't grab the camera or anything, but if you can see that or not, you know, nothing unusual so far. There's a good bit of moisture coming out of the hives that's resting on the entrance there, but you're always going to see a few dead bees. They just succumb to the cold, kind of to be expected, really. So absolutely, well, I was going to say no activity, but surprisingly,
We actually do have a little activity right here if that's coming up. Not much by any means, but there is some. All right, so again, late January, next week, you know, it'll be February, and then before we know it, it'll be March. So time's a ticking as far as remaining time left before the season starts. And I do not want to be doing anything at the last minute if I can prevent that, which is exactly what I'm going to do today. So all these boxes you see right here, covered with the tarp, some contain brand new foundation and some contain dead outs and whatnot that have drawn wax. So what I plan on doing today, taking advantage of the cold weather, but you know, tolerable to work in for a few hours, I'm going to take this pallet right here, establish a base or create a base with a tarp, and then I'm going to take all those boxes over there and keep them organized, but make a column for all the boxes that have foundation, refresh them with some paramoth, and then make another section or two of all boxes with new foundation that need to be waxed. And that's what I plan on doing early to mid-February, because looking back on previous posts and videos, March, early March and mid-March, things really start to change. And in fact, mid-March is when I start planning, or when I start to hang swarm traps, and usually start catching swarms not too long after. So I definitely want to get all this stuff prepped. I have this pallet that you can see I'm obviously making good use of, but all the boxes over here, it's just colonies that I've, or equipment that I've condensed from colonies, and some new equipment that I was storing in the shed or garage, and I just wanted to make some space for it. So I figured, since I took some time off of work, since the weather's not terrible, and well, again, I have the time, why not use it wisely and start prepping? That's pretty much it. I'm not really going to show anything else. I don't plan to, at least for now. I might show a few clips in next month's series of videos, just waxing a few frames, but you can probably picture what that looks like if you've never seen it before. And if you've seen it before, well, there's really nothing fascinating to show. All right, just wanted to give an update since it's been 10 days since the last one. I'll try to come out here before the end of the month just to recap a few things, but looking at the weather between now and the 31st, it's really not going to be much difference. So I'm really keeping my fingers crossed, like most beekeepers probably are, that the hives are just hunkered down, clustered, keeping warm, and can make it through this cold front. So we'll see. All right, folks, so it is just after 4 o'clock. It's about 45 degrees. Worked up a nice sweat out here, but honestly, it feels pretty good. Just gonna show you what I got done today. So, should be able to tell, but this stack is a lot smaller. That is now my grab and go stack, meaning all the boxes in there have drawn wax and foundation. I just treated them with some more paramoth. So obviously I'll have to let them air out before I use them, but I know all the boxes here are ready to use as soon as things warm up and start splitting some colonies. And then over here, I got a few pro nukes. Got quite a few pre-orders. I haven't collected any money, and I don't like doing that until the exchange of goods and services. I figured just stage a few pro nukes out here, and then I got all the swarm traps ready to go. Something I don't think I've mentioned, it's in my it's on the Square site description for our nuke sales, but something that I like to do that's slightly different than maybe some other folks is if you buy a nuke from me, you get to keep the pro nuke box. I figured, you know, that's just something I can give to a new beekeeper or somebody just getting into bees. So whatever equipment they have, they also can have a pro nuke, which you can use as a swarm trap and, you know, some other things. And then, yeah, swarm season, it's right around the corner. I just wanted to get everything staged, separated, cleaned up today, so I know what I'm looking at. I know what's where, what piles what, and everything like I described. Let's walk over behind the shed so I can show you what that stack of boxes looks like. And these are all the boxes that I need to wax frames or foundation, or build frames and foundation and wax them. Check this out. Good God. And you know what? That's not even all of them. As you can see, I have my work cut out for me, but that's what I plan on doing throughout the month of February. Just small bites, right? Because come March 1st, I want to be absolutely done, absolutely prepared. Again, around mid-March, hang the swarm traps, and then the season starts. I was looking back at some videos from last year and the year before, so 24 and 25, and I'm chasing swarms in early March. So that's why I say all that. I'd rather be prepared now than, jumping through my, getting things ready as I need them. But that's it for me. Like I said, I'll come back out here in a few days, right towards the end of January, show you anything that's going on, which again, looking at the forecast, probably not a whole lot of much, but if we do have some snow, that would be pretty cool to share that with y'all. All right, stay tuned. All right, hey, just a quick update, everybody. So it is Friday, January 30th, right after 4 o'clock. Temperature is 46 degrees. The humidity is 34%. And I am as prepared as I possibly can be for this weather that's going to set in anytime tonight or into the early morning hours. The weather forecasts have been all over the place between the phone apps and the local news, but I was out here within the last hour. I popped the tops on all the hives just to take a quick look at the fondant statuses of them. And in fact, if you can see that, looks like I kind of disturbed that colony a little bit. But if you see the wood, the sticks and whatnot, or top bar there, I have about 7 of them that they're running low on fondant. They're not dangerously close to running out, but considering what the weather looks like over the next few days, I am a bit concerned. That's why I marked them with the sticks and everything. And I was thinking about it, the worst case scenario, or maybe best case scenario, I'll get out here sometime over the next few days, no matter what the weather's looking like, and at least be intentionally quick and deliberate with my actions, meaning I'll replace the fondant patty then, even if the hive's covered in snow, because the last thing I want any of the colonies to do is to run out of food. So yeah, just a quick update. Like I was saying, the weather forecast, again, is all over the place. The local news said we might have snow starting at 10 p.m. tonight, and another source said maybe as late as 5 a.m. tomorrow morning. But they're projecting 7 to 12 inches of snow for us, which is wild. There's only been one other time, I think that was early 2018, we had about 8 inches of snow. We get some here and there every year or every other year, give or take. We're usually good for like a few inches, 2, 3, maybe 4, but 7 to 12, that'll be something different. All right, so just one last look at the yard. I will come out here tomorrow and show you all what that looks like if we get the snow we're projected to get. But ironically, last year, a week before now, so basically, I think it was like January 23rd or so, that was last year's snow event. So far, it looks like they're all doing good. Again, pop the tops. I could see signs of life. I am doing everything I can possibly do to pull through the winter with as many hives as possible, or at least more than last year, which I'm sitting pretty right now, and I would love to say that here in about, I think 50 days is spring, give or take, plus or minus. All right, folks, hey, cross our fingers. Hopefully everything works out well. Again, I'll show you an update tomorrow, but yeah, I'm really I'm really keeping my fingers crossed for my bees, for all the other beekeepers out there, because it's a stressful time of year. As fun as it is and as cool as it is, especially for us here in Eastern North Carolina in Onslow County, to experience a nice snowstorm every now and then, it does get a little stressful, especially if you're keeping bees. All right, that's it for now. Stay tuned. I'll wrap up this month's video tomorrow by showing you a look, I guess no matter what, if we have snow or not, but it is a very, very, very strong possibility, highly likely, we will have snow. So of course, I'll share that. All right, it's the following day. So here it is, Saturday, January 31st, right at noon. The Apiary weather app has the temperature at 29 degrees and 65% humidity. And as you can see over my shoulder, the weather guessers were incorrect with their snow prediction of 5 a.m. So looking at the weather app in my phone, the latest and greatest is sleet starting now, lasting for about 5 or 6 hours, which takes us, actually 7 hours, that takes us to 7 p.m. And then the weather app has the snow icon starting at 8 p.m., lasting all the way till 6 a.m. And then it switches over to a wind icon, which is also what the weather stations have been saying in the local news, that it's going to be pretty windy. And if I click on today's forecast and scroll all the way through this thing, within the next 24 hours, it indicates 5 to 6 inches of snow. So we shall see. And a few other interesting things from the weather app. It is 24 degrees below our current average, and it feels like, with the wind, it feels like 13 degrees. So I'll keep y'all updated as the day goes by. And in fact, yeah, it's starting to sleet right now, if you can see it or not. They say sleet, but that awfully looks like snow. Anyway, TBD, this might be the beginning of it for the next 8 hours or 12 hours. So I'll keep y'all posted, but I don't know if this is coming up on camera or not, but it's starting to come down. All right, stay tuned. The rest of the video will just be about the weather today, and if it's still daylight hours and we have any decent accumulation on the ground, I might walk out to the hives and just show y'all that. But I feel like the beginning of February's video will be nothing but snow-covered land out here. All right, so in just a matter of 2 hours, this is how quickly things have changed for us. So it's just after 2 o'clock. The temperature is 25 degrees, and then looking at the phone weather app, snow icon for now. It looks like maybe some sleet all the way through sunset, actually through midnight, and then the snow icon resumes from midnight through 6 a.m. and then 7 a.m. it indicates wind all the way from 7 until noon. So looks like we'll have quite a few hours of snow, which is pretty cool. Maybe the prediction is right, meaning 5 to 6 inches. I'm going to go take a look at the bee yard here in a little bit, and I'll show you that update here in about maybe 2 hours. All right, everybody, this will be the last update for today. So it is 6 o'clock. The temperature is 19 degrees. It says it feels like it's 14. Let's go check on the hives real quick. This is so cool to see. Holy smokes, man. The weather guessers, even though they got the snow arrival time wrong by a few hours, they may be right with the amount of snowfall we are projected to get. All right, to be expected, the entrances are completely covered up. So tomorrow morning, I'll come out here and just brush the entrances off with a stick or something. But like I was saying the other day, the snow sitting on top of the hives, on top of the outer cover, that will serve as a nice insulator. So there is a little bit of a silver lining to the snowfall we're getting right now. All right, I know the lighting's not the best. Hopefully the audio is okay. That does it for January. Thanks for watching, everybody. I appreciate it. Please subscribe to the channel, like the video. Stay tuned for February. All right, what an interesting month. I was just finishing up the video, editing most of the clips for January series, and it's interesting to me that just a few weeks ago we had temperatures in the mid 70s, and here we are again. Like I said, 19 degrees feels like 11 or something, but that is the weather for Eastern North Carolina. All right, stay tuned. Appreciate y'all. We'll see what February looks like, but I have a sneaky feeling I know exactly how February is going to begin, right? All right, see y'all next time.